trial resumes this morning with former Cohen advisor Robert Costello back on the witness stand after a fiery confrontation between him and the judge during his first day of testimony.
And they had a staring contest. I love it.
Did.
Brooke Singman here with all the details. Hey, Brooke.
Hey, guys. Yeah, Robert Costello is expected to continue his testimony today, but his time on the stand is not off to a smooth start. The former federal prosecutor and ex-advisor to Michael Cohen clashing with Judge Merchan. The judge went so far as to clear the courtroom after getting into a heated back and forth with the defense's witness. It all started when Costello began audibly responding to objections from the prosecution about his testimony. Once the room was cleared, the judge saying, quote, "I want to discuss proper decorum in my courtroom. You don't say strike it because I'm the only one who can strike it." Judge Merchan asked Costello not to respond, but Costello looked at him, prompting the judge to ask, "Are you staring at me?" Eventually, the jury was allowed back in and Costello's testimony resumed. He said that Michael Cohen admitted that Trump did not know about the payment to Stormy Daniels, despite Cohen testifying that he has no doubt Trump gave him the final sign-off to make the payment. Michael Cohen completed his testimony yesterday, and he admitted to stealing $30,000 from the Trump Organization. Trump's lawyer asking, quote, "You stole from the Trump Organization, correct?" Cohen responding, "Yes, sir." Cohen said he paid $20,000 to a tech company to do online polls for the Trump campaign, but requested reimbursement for $50,000, and he pocketed the difference. Florida Senator and possible VP contender Marco Rubio slamming Cohen's credibility. Listen.
What's happened to America? America used to put sanctions on countries that did this kind of thing. Then you have Michael Cohen. This is a guy that was, rented some suite over at the Hay Adams, is looking across at the White House. All the people he used to work with over at the Trump Organization are now in the White House, and he's been left out, and he's miserable about that. And so he's desperate to go out and see what he can invent on his own to try to impress Donald Trump and try to get himself back in. And that's what's coming across here, not to mention the fact that the guy is an admitted, convicted serial liar, and apparently now also a thief who stole money from the Trump Organization.
The former president's defense team also moved to dismiss the case altogether, arguing there is no evidence connecting Trump to false business records. Judge Merchan reserved a decision, meaning he will decide on that at a later date. The defense will likely rest their case today, and closing arguments are expected to begin next week.
I love that there was the gun pull at the very end. Ooh, baby, that's a very legendary meme. Good, bad, and ugly is exactly what we've seen in the trial in New York. There is massive breaking news out of the trial right now. We're going to go to the trial live in just a moment. Today is doomsday for the case against Donald Trump. The only case that they've been able to bring before the election. It's all gone down in flames. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a beautiful morning. Today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. Defense rests case after judge threatens witness as Michael Cohen is exposed as a stealing, lying rat in court. And the judge blocks testimony exonerating Donald Trump. Doesn't matter. The judge is now on fire. This guy is now in flame. I mean, he's done. He's done. Judge Merchan has been broken. He's broken. He went into a screaming, raging tirade in court yesterday. And I got to tell you, the saddest day of my life is that this isn't all broadcast. But we do have live broadcast from the court in just a second because Don Jr. is at the court right now with the MAGA Avengers speaking outside of the court, Kash Patel and AG Andrew Bailey. Attorney General Andrew Bailey of the state of Missouri joined the program live. Ooh, baby. Kash Patel was there live yesterday. Ooh, this is going to be a wild show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Very excited to have both those fine men on the program today. You should be a fine man. You should be a man who is able to stand on your own 2 feet and protect and provide for your family. Make sure that you are protecting your family against whatever crazy S that they're going to throw at us next. As the world begins to correct itself, you're going to be able to see they will get more desperate. Remember how desperate they got in 2020? Is the next pandemic around the corner? Make sure that you are signed up and that you are safe and that you are prepared. Sign up for the wellness company, twc.health/Benny. That's twc.health/Benny. The wellness company can assist in getting you an emergency kit that has life-saving medications. Rest assured that you have the emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand for whatever the globalists throw at us next, because they are losing power. Use the code Benny for 10% off. That's Benny for 10% off, twc.health/Benny. Oh, baby, we are ready to go. Holy moly. So the trial's crazy. Do we have the photo from today? Allies in court today. You got to see this. All right? So this is the greatest backfire that I've seen potentially in all of political history. I mean, what's a bigger backfire than bringing this trial? The greatest comeback or surprise victory was obviously 2016. But this is the greatest backfire, okay? This is now backfiring. You can't really argue that like the PP dossier or Russiagate or anything really backfired on Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was just a wretched, horrible witch. She refused to campaign. She refused to actually like make a convincing argument. She's awful. Okay, this is an actual backfire. Look at the photo today from the court. This isn't the right photo. Let's go to the photo. That's photo of Kash Patel, ladies and gentlemen, from yesterday. We'll get the right one up for today. The phalanx of people that are rolling through and defending Donald Trump in court is remarkable. It's incredible. You're able to see people from all walks of life, from all stripes, all across the Republican Party. Here we go, up from today. You got Pam Bondi in there. You got attorney generals from Texas. You got Lieutenant Governor of Texas there. You got Troy Nehls, Sebastian Gorka, Don Jr. standing up and defending Donald Trump. Jason Miller in the background there. These are just some of the people off the top of my head that you can see. And there are a bunch of people, ladies and gentlemen, in frame that you cannot see. And you are like uniting the entire Republican Party. So one thing you're not supposed to do is unite all your enemies against you. And this is what they're doing. The collapse is here. The collapse is in real time. The collapse is happening. It's happening now. They've united. I mean, Speaker Johnson, you had a couple of like sort of mealy-mouthed senators, very like limp-wristed senators showing up to back Trump, to stand behind Trump. This was earlier last week. Speaker Johnson, who you know we're not huge fans of, but it's good to unite. I want to win as an America First patriot. I do not want to lose. I want to win. And to win, you must unite. And this is something that's, I think, is happening in not only like remarkable and historic ways, but also happening in tectonic ways that can't really be measured right now. Go to a black neighborhood and ask people if their lives have gotten better. Go to a Hispanic neighborhood and ask people if their lives have gotten better. Go to the suburbs and ask soccer moms if their lives have gotten better. Nobody's gotten better over the last 4 years. Everybody knows that Joe Biden is horrible for this nation, and this is why you're seeing the erosion, like the full-scale, total sand on the beach erosion of the sort of cobbled together patchwork that used to support the Democrat Party. The coalition of the dispossessed, you can call it, right? The people who they've been able to convince are victims. The people they've been able to convince that the man's got them down. And then they look up and they see one person being persecuted by the man, and that's Donald Trump. You have entire populations of people that grow up listening to music about how rigged the justice system is and how crooked and corrupt the justice system is, and they look up and they see what? A mugshot of a billionaire president given to us by Fannie Willis. They see these trials going forward, and most importantly, they see that liars like Michael Cohen, who stole from Donald Trump and actually committed a worse crime than Donald Trump is trying to be tried for. Donald Trump being tried right now for a business records crime that nobody has been able to actually elucidate what the crime was. No one. The DOJ didn't charge it. The FEC didn't charge it. Nobody in the Biden administration charged it. They had to go to dumbass Alvin Bragg to try and figure out a way to charge this thing, and they just forced him to do it because the man has no spine, leverage, soul, or balls. And then they pushed this to its breaking point, and that's what you saw yesterday. The breaking point was they brought on Michael Cohen's attorney, and this attorney's like, that man's a liar. Not only that, that man committed grand larceny. This guy committed grand larceny. He stole from Donald Trump. How did he steal from Donald Trump? He stole from Donald Trump by committing false business records, by falsifying his business records. That's how he stole from Trump. This is, we're living inside a bizarro world, and everybody can see it. And there's entire populations of people around the country who are looking at this trial and saying, wow, my priors have been confirmed. There is no justice system in America. There's a rigged system that persecutes the people who they wish to persecute. And that man standing up on my behalf is Donald Trump. And look at all those people standing behind him. It's an incredible moment. Speaking of incredible moments, ladies and gentlemen, Don Jr. seconds ago took to the stage outside of the court. This doesn't normally happen at this time. Yesterday it happened really late. Kash Patel is going to be on the show. We're going to talk about Kash Patel and Kash Patel standing at the dais and defending Donald Trump. But Donald Trump's son, the first time we've ever seen this, Donald Trump's son stood up and defended Trump just seconds ago in front of the court. We have the tape along with a massive phalanx of incredible patriots in the tradition of this program. We want to let them speak because Donald Trump can't speak. They violated his First Amendment rights. So we're going to let him talk, baby. Let's go to Don Jr. in front of the court in Manhattan and all of the allies of Donald Trump. Rock and roll.
Well, guys, I had to come down and witness the Bolshevik show trials for myself. What's going on here is an absolute farce, and anyone in America should be embarrassed at the absolute miscarriage of justice that we're seeing here. There's no crime. The only problem is the witnesses who are experts in these things aren't allowed to actually testify to that because you have a rigged system. You have a judge whose daughter is making millions off of this very case. But you know what? That's not a problem in New York City. Donald Trump. And if they will try to do this to someone like Donald Trump with a platform, hundreds of millions of followers, the ability to fight, they will do it to anyone. They have weaponized this system against their political enemies, and they've started to go down a very dangerous and a very slippery slope. This insanity cannot stand. This kind of bias cannot be allowed to happen in the United States of America or anywhere else. If this was going on right now in a third world banana republic, there would be people screaming about it. You people, the media, would be outraged. Instead, because I presume you're fine with whatever the results are as long as it's against Donald Trump, your silence is deafening and it's disgusting. This cannot stand and it cannot allow to continue.
Don, why'd you feel the need to come down here?
Because you have no choice. You know, again, I wasn't a political guy my whole life. I may have been a conservative. We used to change the skyline of this city. We built buildings. But once you get involved and you see the disasters created, especially by this current administration, you understand that you have to fight. You have to leave our country to our children in a way that they can recognize it. You have to fight for the freedoms that we have enjoyed our entire lives. They are all at risk right now. They are all on the table, and that's unacceptable.
You know, I just want to say, Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general.
Nice.
Equal protection under the law is a
Nice.
most fundamental bedrock constitutional principle of American jurisprudence. What I just saw in this courtroom is a complete miscarriage of justice. We cannot have judges who are wearing the same jersey as the prosecution and are not calling balls and strikes, but are intentionally preventing the defense from defending themselves. You know, we have witnesses that are liars and stealers. We cannot have this in America. And the fact that this is going to most likely go to a jury trial on no crimes, that this is essentially a referendum on whether or not the jurors like Donald Trump or not, is not the American system of justice. We demand better. New York City demands better. We have the most serious crisis at our border that's causing the most insecure terrorism situation since 9/11. We need to wake up to what's important in America, start paying attention to that. Pam?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well
Pam
done.
Bondi. Prior to being Attorney General of Florida, I was a career prosecutor for 18 years. I've prosecuted hundreds of jury trials in a courtroom very similar to the one today. Yet I've never seen anything like this. A judge is supposed to be a neutral arbiter of facts. First of all, this case was declined by many years from the Southern District of New York, by the Department of Justice, by multiple jurisdictions. Yet they bring it on the heels of a presidential election with a convicted felon, a convicted liar, Michael Cohen, who admitted in court yesterday to being a thief. They need to prosecute Michael Cohen now for stealing from the Trump organization. I've truly never seen like this. That judge was sustaining the prosecution's objections, meaning agreeing with them before they could barely get the objection out of their mouth. Listen, all the rights here, I'm a prosecutor, former prosecutor, yet all the rights here go to the defendant because it's his liberty at stake, and that has not been happening in this courtroom. So let's just pray that we have jurors that see through this. When Bob Costello was trying to answer questions on cross-examination today, the prosecutors were cutting him off. They didn't want him to tell the full truth. They only wanted to cherry pick portions of his statements. They weren't letting him answer the question. Prosecutors want the truth out there. You want everything to be heard so the jurors can make a fair and reasonable decision. This case should have never, ever been brought.
Boom. Savage. Here we go.
Just to the point
Gorka.
that Don Jr. made, Sebastian Gorka, former deputy to the president. What is Judge Merchan hiding? Here is a 28-page document from the Southern District of New York about what? Michael Cohen and why he is a criminal. This document was meant to be brought up in court. Judge Merchan suppressed it. This is from the Southern District. 28 pages on Michael Cohen being a perjurer and a criminal. What are you hiding, Judge Merchan? Is it perhaps the fact that your daughter has just made $93 million for the Democrat Party? President Trump is being gagged. He's the leader of the opposition. He is the only person who can replace the incumbent senile old man. And we know that this judge is working on behalf of the Democrats. Why are you hiding this document, Judge Merchan? I'm going to put it on the internet today. What are you hiding, Judge Merchan? Sorry, Governor.
No. Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas. So why aren't you asking the question, when is Michael Cohen going to be indicted?
Strong.
He stole $60,000. Do your job. That should be the headline. Number two, Alvin Bragg should be indicted. He brought someone as a witness in a case with someone he knew had committed a crime. He should be indicted. So, headline, please. Where are you, Alvin Bragg? Who's going to indict him? Who's going to indict Michael Cohen? Look, we are here to defend our Constitution, our freedoms, and we're here because we are friends of Donald Trump, the President of the United States. And when a friend is in trouble, friends have his back. The way he has been treated, you would see in Russia, you would see in China, you would see in North Korea, you would see in every little tin pot dictatorship across the world. And that's what we have here in New York, in America. If they can go after the former president of the United States of America, who has the ability and the financial resources to fight back, what happens to the average American? What happens to any of you? If the courts in New York come after any of you because of something you said, because you said something the ruling class didn't like. And that's what all these other countries are about. They shut down the ruling class. They want to be sure that anyone that speaks up against the ruling class disappears. They want Donald Trump to disappear. They want to send him to jail. They want to take him off the main stage because they know here's their biggest danger to taking the ruling class down. No, you know why? Donald Trump is not the ruling class. Donald Trump is for every New Yorker. He's for every Texan, every state. Donald Trump has put his whole life on the line, for the American people. When he came down that escalator, he probably had no idea that he was going to be called to be the man in the gap to stand up for Americans. And he's standing up for you, even if you don't know it. I don't know who's next.
Texas, stand proud. Texas, stand proud.
30 years in prison. What a pathetic question. 730 years in prison, and he's a member of the elite. That's pathetic. You're not a journalist.
So I want to say, as a former attorney general with my previous job, and now as U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt from Missouri, I can tell you these charges should have never been brought. There's no crime. The only crime that's been unveiled through this, Soviet-style show trial is Michael Cohen. who stole money, admitted it on the stand. This is the star witness. This is the witness upon which this entire case stands. And as a legal matter, this case is a total joke. In a broader sense, you want to talk about threats to democracy? That's what this is across the street. The idea that the Democrats not only try to keep him off the ballot, Donald Trump, but now throw him in jail for the rest of his life because they know he's going to win in November. And the only way they think they can get after it is this unprecedented lawfare. We have never, ladies and gentlemen, we've never seen anything like this in this country. So I know this can kind of be normalized as you've been covering it. This is outrageous. If this were happening in any country, any other country, our State Department will be warning people not to go to that country because it's a banana republic. And more broadly speaking, let me just say this, from a political perspective, the American people see what's happening. This has added jet fuel to his campaign. You want to know why he's rising in the polls? Because the American people understand the injustice that's happening, and they don't want to see their country turn into a banana republic.
Savage. Well done. Missouri, stand tall. Missouri, stand tall.
Real quick, make no mistake about this. We all know this. These corrupt prosecutors and this corrupt judge are nothing more than puppets of the Biden administration and the Biden DOJ right now. You know what? It's a shame. They will do anything. They will lie. They will cheat. They will steal. They will do anything to keep him from becoming president again. They fear Donald Trump. They fear Donald Trump. And they fear what's going to happen if he becomes president again. And I'll tell you, they should fear, because he started draining the swamp. He's going to keep draining it again. And all of these people are representative of the swamp. The sad thing is today, Lady Justice in the city of New York no longer wears a blindfold. She's wearing the Michael Cohen T-shirt with President Trump behind bars.
Ooh.
That's how disgusting this has got to be right now. And it was mentioned before, this is not the kind of stuff that happens in the United States of America. This is Soviet era stuff right here. Everybody out here, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're Republican or you're Democrat, I don't care what your political leanings are. You better look at what's happening right here in New York, and it better scare the hell out of you, because they'll come for you next. Next up.
Hi. I'm Representative Salazar. Probably
Nice.
I'm the only member of this group that can speak in both languages.
Florida.
So I'm going to do that in Spanish when we finish.
Good.
I have a few remarks that I think are going to be very interesting to all of you. I represent District Number 27 in Florida, a bastion of the ultimate melting pot in the United States. And I just want to make very clear that I am here of my own volition. I am not on the list of the favorites. I am not looking for a job, and I paid for my own way, just to make sure. And the only reason why I'm here is because thousands of my constituents back in Miami are terrified when the courts in this country are used as weapons to crush our political enemies. Regardless of what you think of Donald Trump, regardless of what you think of him, regardless of what you feel about him, regardless whether you're going to vote for him or not in November, Donald Trump is not the only one going through trial. We all are. And I'm not sure if you know that, but that's the truth. Trump may be the one on the stand today, but the same forces that are manipulating the court system against him today will be after you tomorrow if we do not stop this political cycle circus that we're facing right now. The empirical evidence is overwhelming. And why do I say that? How come a person is being charged and we do not know the charges that are against him are clearly defined? That is all political. That happens in Cuba and Venezuela, not in the United States. How come the federal prosecutors 6 years ago decided not to touch this case, but somehow the state prosecutors in New York decided that it was the right timing? Because it's all political. Why there are no audio recordings? Don't you guys want to hear what's happening? How come there are no cameras in the courtroom? Why is that? Because it's all political. But you know what? My parents are Cuban Americans. They are political refugees. They came from Cuba 60 years ago. And political trials happen in banana republics. In banana republics, not in the United States of America. Thousands and thousands of my constituents, and that is why I'm here, not because I'm one of the favorites, but thousands of my constituents come from those countries, the Cuba, the Venezuela, the Nicaragua, very close to us. And they recognize and see very well when there is a political inquisition going on. They have lived it, they have suffered it, and they escaped it, including my parents. And yet now we're watching this again, where? In the United States of America. There is something very wrong with this picture. And we have lifted, and that's why I'm here talking to you. The United States, the courts, the laws, the judges cannot be used as political weapons just to silence the other guy because you do not like him. The ballot box is where you fight those political battles, not in a court of law. And in the meantime, I belong to you for 35 years. You should be ashamed of how passively you're sitting passively by while the credibility of one of the most revered American institutions, the judicial system, is crumbling in front of your eyes. Where is your profession? Where is your impartiality? Your biased coverage will cost us for many generations. Unfortunately, my constituents know this movie does not end well. But the problem is that millions and millions of my fellow Americans have never watched it, so they do not know the dangers we're facing. America and its political genius of the American exceptionality, if we lose faith in it, we are marching towards a very dark place. America is the only hope, ask my parents and my constituents, for humanity, and if we want to continue pursuing the happiness of all of us. May the Lord Almighty, the Lord of Abraham, the Lord of Jesus, protect us, because we are in a very dark place. Thank you. And
Woo, baby! Yes!
Lo que acabo de decir es que esto es un circo político.
Do it!
We are the largest minority in the country, the Hispanics. Los hispanos somos la minoría más importante en los Estados Unidos. Esto es un circo político que solamente se ve en Cuba, en Venezuela y en Nicaragua. Es una vergüenza que nosotros, independientemente de lo que usted piensa de Trump, si le gusta Trump, si no le gusta Trump, lo que piense de él, en realidad es que en este país no se logra una lucha política en las cortes, se logra en el ballot box, en las urnas. Y por eso le estoy diciendo a los hispanos, wake up, despiértense, que lo que está pasando es marxismo y nosotros vinimos a este país para no tener esto, sino para que el futuro de nuestros hijos sea un futuro glorioso en un país que es el American exceptionality.
Fantastic job. Fantastic job. Troy Nails from the great state of Texas. I tell you what I saw today. This is nothing more. And the American people see it. This is election interference. First time to the courtroom, I sat in there for an hour and I said, we've got a compromised judge, no question about it. We've already highlighted to you all about the daughter, big mega donor for all the Democrats. They don't want Donald Trump off the ballot. They don't want him on the ballot. They don't want Donald Trump holding rallies, because what happens at his rallies?
Look at his tie.
Sitting in a courtroom when he should be out reaching the American people and telling the American people what he would like to do for this country. And who shows up? Tens of thousands of people show up at Donald Trump's rallies. The Democrats hate it. There's not another person on the planet that can do that other than the Pope. The Pope. And when do people go? They visit the Pope. What do they say? Pope, what can you do? Would you bless me and my family? That's what they want. They want blessings for their family when they go see the Pope. When people come to Donald Trump's rallies, they're saying, Donald Trump, we need you more than ever before. Our country is burning. The world's on fire. We need leadership. The American people are begging for leadership, and they're asking Donald J. Trump, stay strong, continue to fight for the American people and the Make America Great movement. That's what this is all about. And all the dishonest media, all of you out there, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. But I can guarantee damn well to you this. Donald Trump's going to be the 47th president. Donald Trump's going to be the 47th president.
Preach.
And he's going to make America great again.
Preach.
So I don't think any of us have seen a more glaring example of undermining American democracy than I just witnessed in this courtroom and we're seeing throughout this court case. What is the offense? What is truly the charge? I guarantee you the jurors don't know the minutia on whether there were records kept right or if a payment was made properly. It is senseless. Then let's just look at, and frivolous. Let's look at the players involved here. Can you just at least do that? Bragg. Go back and look at when he ran for DA. He ran on getting Donald Trump. He was paid for. His campaign was paid for. He's owned by the Soros family. That's who this guy is. Look at the timing of when he brought this case to the court. Just so happens we got a presidential election in 5 months. And by the way, when you're going to accuse the former president of the United States and the leading opponent of Joe Biden's in a presidential election for the United States of America, you better have a case, okay? I'm not hearing anything up there. Take it a little further. This judge, he donates to Joe Biden. His daughter is one of the most prolific fundraisers for the Democrats, for the DNC, and for Kamala Harris. I mean, where does it end with the mockery that has been created here? This case never should have come to court. This case is totally frivolous. This case has no merit. Donald Trump is incredibly innocent, and it's only about defeating him in November. Everybody's got to understand that. This is a weaponization of our judicial system. So it's that serious, it's that scary, it's that bad for the great constitutional republic known as the United States of America. Thank you.
I'm Congressman Dale Strong from the great state of Alabama. I wanted to come here and see it myself so the common people of this country can understand what's going on. It's election interference at a level never seen before. We're keeping a candidate that is leading the Republican Party from campaigning throughout this country. What he wants to talk about is inflation. He wants to talk about fuel prices throughout this country. He wants to talk about why interest rates for those that are wanting to build homes is at 6 to 7%, and people can't reach their dreams. Let's just put it what it is. This is election interference at the highest level so that this candidate cannot tell his story throughout this country. But I'm going to tell you right now, the American people see right through it. I'm proud to be here with Don Jr., Pam Bondi, members of Congress, Senate, my man right here. And I'm telling you right now, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I saw it in person today. It shouldn't be happening. And America's going to see right through it. No, let's answer that real quick. No, he didn't ask me to come here. I came here on my own because I was seeing what's going on. I said, rather than someone else try to tell me what's going on and someone else trying to tell the people of Alabama what's going on, I came here and I damn sure saw it myself. It is a circus in that courtroom, and I'll promise you, the people are seeing right through it, and Donald Trump is fixed to be the next president of America, and this is going to be part of it.
The former president had the chance to share his story in front of the jury. Why did he choose?
I'm Daniel Webster from Central Florida, and I came here today for one reason. I want to support my friend, President Donald Trump. He's a great man. He deserves an opportunity to campaign. It's not happening. All I saw here is what everybody has said. This is a farce. It's an unjust thing to bring someone to trial when they've done nothing. So I haven't seen a person that's committed a crime. Haven't seen any evidence that proves the commission of crime. All I've seen is there's a liar, a convicted liar. That's the star witness. And secondly, a thief. A thief that stole money. Where's the prosecution there? $60,000 is a lot of money. So I know my people, and they believe this to be a farce. And I think that we're going to prove that. I think we're going to win that. But the key is get him out of the way. Let him go campaign. Let him become our president again.
All right, baby. All right, let's have a look. See, okay, there's no, my producer telling me there were no comments afterwards, and then there were some pretty remarkable speeches, baby. Wow, what an absolute bombshell press conference. This is a flamethrower. That was, I don't know which one. Maria Salazar from Florida, probably my favorite. Maria Salazar from Florida. Are you from Missouri? Are you from Texas? Are you from Florida? Alabama? Stand tall. Stand tall. What an incredible group of patriots, and also some back and forth with the reporters. Also, like 3.5 minutes of defending Donald Trump in Spanish. That was remarkable. I like Maria Salazar because she's like, I'm from Cuba. My family's from Cuba. My constituents are from Cuba. We know exactly what this means when you're trying to lock up your political enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, we're really excited about our next guest. We're very, very excited because our next guest is somebody who was standing at that dais, at that podium yesterday defending Donald Trump, somebody who defended Donald Trump inside of his administration and some of the highest levels of his administration. The great Kash Patel joins the show live right now. Kash, thank you so much. That was just a live, like, absolute flamethrower fest in front of the court. Absolute, like, wild stuff. I guess we have your comments all loaded up and everything, but my first question to you, since you delivered a blistering remarks yesterday and you were in the court with Trump, is why didn't you wear this tie? Okay, here's a tie from Troy Nels that we just saw. This is, I think, a really important. I don't know if we can zoom in there. You see, there you go. Okay, Kash, I know you have great fashion sense. I know you have the means. Why didn't you wear this tie yesterday?
This guy. It's hard to get a dress shirt on over this contraption. I tore my bicep playing hockey, so I had to rock a polo because I've torn way too many dress shirts with my Iron Man robotic arm. So right now I'm in a holding pattern in public. All right.
So, I mean, we've already published your speech yesterday. It went nuclear on all of our channels. So we're not going to make you listen to yourself, but can you sort of recap for the audience what the behind the scenes was with Trump at the court yesterday?
You know, it was absolutely an honor to be there. I actually showed up at Trump Tower at 7 a.m., went up to the residence, hung out with the boss for a little bit. He was in a great mood. Then he invited some of the congressmen and women up and, you know, just said some of the thoughts that were on his mind and was in great spirits and thanked everyone for being there. And then took the motorcade down to the courthouse. And it's interesting because you would think he would be getting booed the whole way through Manhattan, but there was thousands of people lined up outside when we left. And when we got back to Trump Tower in the afternoon, that were lined up applauding and cheering on Donald Trump. The only hecklers were the George Soros paid guys at that park that you guys saw. And so then we get to the courtroom and, you know, it was amazing to be in the courtroom as a former public defender and federal prosecutor. You know, it's one thing to read a transcript. It's one thing to read media reporting, but we'll get to the antics in the courtroom later. But I was literally leveled at the amount of unconstitutional behavior by the prosecutor and the judge in this case. And that's why I went to the sticks yesterday. They don't force you. They don't, you know, nobody at the Trump org or Trump world is saying, you got to do this. You know, we're there voluntarily. We're doing it because we love this president. And because of the things we see in the courtroom, and the world has a right to know it. And I'm glad people are continuing to do that. But it was a special day, and I spent a lot of time with the president. So it was pretty cool. And hopefully that helped buoy his spirits a little.
We just want to reinforce what you just said there because we were prepared with this clip for a different segment in the show, but here it is. This is the view from the Trump motorcade yesterday. This is incredible. Talk us through this. You were in the motorcade with the big man?
It's unbelievable. I was in the car behind him, and it's just non-stop. I mean, they were waiting at corners along the route. They were waiting when we got back. When I got out of the car, I was literally in the middle of a radio interview yesterday, and I had to turn off the radio interview because there was 1,000 people there just cheering on Donald Trump. And it was just, what we're seeing, though, is not a fan club based in Donald Trump's success as a businessman. I think that's a piece of it historically. What we're seeing is an American support system for Donald Trump because he's exposing the two-tier system of justice. Most of these people didn't care about this stuff ever. And now they see, wait a second, it's not a right-wing conspiracy. This isn't something that Trump and his friends are making up. They are literally weaponizing justice to take our rights away at a presidential election because they don't like him in the mainstream media and the deep state. And they're offended by that as New Yorkers, as Americans, and they wait 8 hours just to get a glimpse of Donald Trump. That's how much they support his movement.
It's incredible. We have the photo of you sort of standing behind Donald Trump yesterday at the court. And it's got to be a pretty remarkable experience. Can you explain like what that's like inside of the courtroom?
Well, inside the courtroom is an absolute three-ring circus, but we'll get to that. Walking in and out of the courtroom, just having the ability, the privilege of being there and supporting President Trump was an honor. And then, when there's court breaks and things like that, you get to spend time because you're just sitting there. You can't go anywhere. It's not like everyone's in different rooms. We're off to the sides once the court clears. And you get to engage in conversations of the day. You get to talk about the case, about the questioning of the witnesses, about the judge's behavior, about the prosecutor. It's a really, really once in a lifetime experience. And so I just tried to take it in and be as supportive as I can. He's got a tremendous team doing the operational work there. I don't need to get in the way of any of that. But it was fun. It was even as a guy who's tried 60 jury trials, I've never seen anything like this. I have never even heard of anything like this.
So clearly, Trump must have asked you, given your background as federal prosecutor, Trump must have asked you what you think of this case, especially given the bombshell testimony of Michael Cohen, how he is grand larceny is what he should be charged with. CNN is on air admitting that Michael Cohen committed a worse crime than they're trying to get Trump for with some type of business records thing. And so you have the actual criminal on the stand coming after Donald Trump, being used as a star witness by the state. The inversion of justice here seems so grotesque, and then you move forward into the afternoon yesterday, and you have Judge Juan Merchan screaming and sending everybody out of the court and acting like a deranged lunatic, presumably because the case is now gone, and his daughter won't be able to make as many points off her fundraising. But I don't know. I wasn't there, so maybe you could elucidate for me.
Yeah, those were the two biggest things. We'll get to Costello in a second, the witness testimony you were talking about where that caused the implosion and explosion in the courtroom. But as I was sitting there in the morning listening to Michael Cohen complete his, testimony of lies, me, the guy that ran the Russiagate investigation that first interrogated Michael Cohen in 2017 under oath, and then he would go on to lie to multiple committees in Congress, who knew Cohen's background, when he stated yesterday in open court under oath that he stole $50,000 from Donald Trump multiple times and reported it to the Southern District of New York and reported it to Alvin Bragg's district attorney's office and reported it to the Department of Justice, and no one prosecuted him, as if that weren't enough. And he said he did it because, the $6 million he made that year wasn't enough. So he wanted to steal from Trump 6 times over just to get some more money that he felt he was owed. So he committed grand theft larceny and admitted to it. I've never seen a witness do this, because the thing that happens next to every other witness is the cops are waiting to arrest you as soon as you walk off the witness stand. If that wasn't enough, he hid those transactions and laundered the money illegally through his bank, which he told us about, that he would go walk across the street and specifically take out installments that were less than $9,000 and deposit amounts that were less than $9,000, so he wouldn't be caught structuring transactions, as we say in the financial crimes world, and laundering money. I mean, this guy literally just admitted to 65 years worth of felonies in 7.5 seconds. And I literally was like almost on the floor. I was next to this great man, Chuck Vito, who's Donald Trump's friend and supporter of a long time. And he's no lawyer. And we were having this conversation. I was like, did he just say that? And we couldn't even comprehend what was going on. And of course, the judge allowed all of this. And of course, the judge objected every time the prosecutions objected. The judge was sustained. I've never seen like 1,000 times in like an hour. There was actually one point where the prosecutor didn't even object, and the judge sustained it and struck it from the record. And that was during the Costello stuff. But the Costello stuff, I don't know what was more unbelievably shocking to me, that Michael Cohen admits after 6 weeks we found a crime. DOJ and the district attorney's office have known about it for 6 years. And the victim of that crime is actually Donald Trump, because he was the one robbed. And no one prosecuted him for it. Then we get to Costello, who was Cohen's attorney, who literally said, Michael Cohen was manic depressive when I first met him in the hotel room conference center. Michael Cohen was contemplating suicide when he first met him. And Michael Cohen told me, as a guy he wanted to hire as a prospective attorney to represent him in all things Trump world, that he had nothing on Donald Trump. Bob Costello said Michael Cohen told him that 10 times. Now, I'm giving you a summary of it because the prosecutors objected to every single question the defense had for Bob Costello, because they knew it would elicit testimony that blew a gaping hole in their prosecution of Donald Trump. Literally, the star witness was just caught being a felon. And right after that, the defense's number one witness, Bob Costello, came on the stand and said Michael Cohen had absolutely no information of any kind on Donald Trump. So now what? Now the judge has to come in and save the day.
Isn't that the end of the case?
Well, normally
you've done a million trials. I mean, for people that don't know, virtually everybody knows Kash Patel, but like for those of you who don't know, Kash Patel is a deeply accomplished prosecutor for the Department of Justice. So he's done a bunch of jury trials. In your profound experience, wouldn't this be the end of the case?
And that's what President Trump was saying yesterday. This judge has an opportunity now to restore some of the due process and constitutional rights that have been trampled along the way by dismissing the case outright, because there is no legal and factual basis to even give it to the jury. There's a specific motion that allows for this. Now, the judge said he's going to reserve. I highly doubt he's going to come back and rule in the way that he should. But the important thing was watching a judge who's supposed to be a neutral arbiter, motion without emotion, just kind of, call the balls and strikes. This guy hasn't called any of those fairly. But putting that aside, he's supposed to look at a witness and just allow them to produce the testimony, especially a defense witness who's putting on the defense of the case. Those constitutional rights of due process belong to the defendant. The prosecution has none of that. Therefore, the defendant. And he literally stared down Bob Costello, this judge, because Bob Costello was being prevented from answering truthfully under oath, which he could later be prosecuted for. Bob's a former attorney. So he was trying to get the truthful answer out, and the judge was cutting him off. And then the judge, in the middle of it, just went berserk.
So by going berserk, you were in the room when he went berserk?
I was in the second row behind President Trump.
Can you explain? Can you explain that? Because we've seen a lot of retellings of that. Although I hear the press was kicked out, so you weren't kicked out. The media's kicked out. Talk to me. What happened?
So there's a couple of things happened. So yes, so once there was a back and forth with Bob Costello, Cohen's former lawyer and Donald Trump's main witness for the defense. Bob Costello is trying to answer questions, and the prosecutor, he was being questioned by the defense attorney, and the prosecutor objected to literally every single question. And the judge sustained every single answer, meaning the jury was not allowed to use that evidence down the road in summary, deciding their verdict. And at one point, it just got to be, I think Mr. Costello looked at the judge and said, gave him one of these, I don't know what to do now. If I can't answer the questions, and I'm paraphrasing for what he might have been thinking, what am I doing on the witness stand? And the judge out of nowhere just goes, are you staring me down? Are you staring me down? And kicks everyone out of the courtroom. He just goes, clear the courtroom. It was unbelievable.
Are these people breaking? Are they breaking these people? He's clearly broken now. The judge is clearly a broken man.
I think even the jury saw this. I mean, listen, it's New York. Maybe we get one juror that has seen this total farce. I mean, yesterday you saw the cataclysmic implosion of Michael Cohen and the cataclysmic explosion of the prosecution's case in chief against Donald Trump. You have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump's innocent. And then the judge, to the central witness of the defense, says basically to him, you're being contemptuous. And if you don't get it together, here's the kicker. If you don't get it together, I'm not going to allow you to testify. As if that is a lawful position to take for the defense, who's producing a defense witness under their constitutional due process rights. This judge is threatening this guy and Donald Trump's team to say, if you don't get it in quote unquote line, I'm going to strike your entire testimony and essentially rob Donald Trump of his constitutional defense in this case. That's this judge.
These are the artist renderings of what was going on. The best that we've got. This one's my favorite, actually. The one with the side eye from Costello right here. Zoom in. With the judge kind of screaming, right? Better than AI that we can do. The judge kind of screaming and yelling. Is this accurate?
He was screaming. I mean, he screamed, clear the room multiple times, not once, multiple times. And then, scolded Mr. Costello. And, the President Trump's attorneys were, basically told, get the witness and quote unquote in line, which he didn't really understand what that was, because Bob Costello the only thing he was doing was lighting the prosecution's case on fire because he literally said, hey, your star witness who just admitted to being a convicted felon also could not have possibly told you that he knew about the Stormy Daniels situation and it was hush money and this and that and the other thing. Because when I represented him, we told the Department of Justice, Michael Cohen says, I know nothing about Donald Trump, Stormy Daniels, or any of it.
I think this is so important because, Kash, and I just love your insight into this stuff. You know Michael Cohen, like you've met Michael Cohen, you've worked with Michael Cohen.
Yeah.
We call him a rat bastard on the show. We think that's probably too polite of a term, but we don't know him, right? Like we don't know the guy. So can you just please illuminate, like, who is this star witness? We've covered Stormy Daniels. We know enough about Stormy Daniels. We know she talks to spirits and she's into demonic stuff now and it's totally weird. She has pentagrams tattooed on her. And so, okay, that's one pillar of the case. And then you have this Michael Cohen pillar. Mm-hmm. And so since we don't know him, like, what was your experience with Michael Cohen?
I mean, look, the short summary is Michael Cohen was President Trump before President Trump became President Trump. He was Donald Trump's attorney. And then when President Trump became President Trump, he became President Trump's personal attorney for a number of years. So about 11 years in total, working on a variety of legal issues for the president. And all of this came out during his testimony. It's not me saying it. And at one point, Michael Cohen, who has clearly taken the position that he will do anything to benefit Michael Cohen and make the world feel as if Michael Cohen's the victim. And I thought the defense did a brilliant job in pulling out this testimony and saying, you're the victim? How much money have you made in Donald Trump's employment? North of $20 million. How much money have you made since you got fired from Donald Trump's employment? Oh, I had 2 $5 million years back to back with book deals and podcasts. So your complaint to this jury is that working for Donald Trump and then flipping on Donald Trump in the media has cost you what exactly? You've netted $30 million. And he's in this part I didn't even know, but he actually admitted it. He's pitching a TV show on his life. I'm sure Netflix will jump all over that. But
The Fixer.
The fact that this guy has made tens of millions of dollars to lie, cheat, and steal from his clients, and that a prosecutor continue to let him lie, cheat, and steal the court and the world was so offensive to me as a former prosecutor. And then Michael Cohen played the violin and said, it's really tough being me, living in my $5 million penthouse and, walking around doing TikTok videos during trial. This guy is making money off TikTok videos, and we want to believe that he's the victim. We finally found a crime yesterday. That's what I said in the park. That's the central thesis. 6 weeks, we found a crime. The guy that committed it was Michael Cohen. We finally found a victim to a crime. The victim was Donald Trump.
Did Michael Cohen wear his little hat, his armor to the stand? We want to know. I mean, we weren't there. So this is what he looked like on the stand?
So when you walk in the witness into this courtroom, the layout is the witness actually walks in between where we were sitting and President Trump's defense table. There's a little alley. So he walks behind the president every time on the way to the witness stand. And, for a guy like me, who's a court geek, I was watching the reactions of the jury during a lot of this process. And when Michael Cohen left the witness stand, meaning when he got off and the prosecutor said, we're done, judge, we rest our case, I watched the jury. I didn't watch anyone else. I watched all 16 members or whatever it is of the jury. And I was observing whether or not they were looking at Michael Cohen as he left the courtroom. And I bring that up because I've been in front of like 65 juries. And when you bring a star witness and that witness is credible, what the jury does when that witness walks out of the courtroom is they look at him. They watch him leave. They're just like, wow, that guy just blew my mind. That guy, wow, he was a credible guy. This proves the case. Not one juror looked at Michael Cohen walking out of the courtroom.
Wow. And that would indicate what in your experience? That they don't respect him?
I mean, it's New York, so,
they don't respect him. They don't trust him. They don't like him.
Right. I do believe that every member of this jury knows Michael Cohen is a liar day in and day out. Now, the question is this jury going to have at least one juror who has the courage to say the government's entire case is built on Michael Cohen. It just imploded. They didn't prove it. Donald Trump's not guilty. Donald Trump is not guilty. Are they going to have that, or are they going to be Judge Marchand and the prosecutors who basically said, we're going to convict this guy It doesn't matter what happens in this courtroom. We're going to take him out anyway. It's going to be an interesting series of summations, which I don't think happen until next week now. And then the jury will get the case, and I don't know how long they'll be out. They could be out days.
This should be dismissal, right? But no.
It should be. That's the argument that was argued. And I was actually there for that at the end of yesterday. Donald Trump's defense team argued brilliantly for dismissal based under the facts and the law, and that there literally is no legal, not only is there no crime, like we've been saying all along, but even if you accepted Michael Cohen's version of fiction as a reality, those facts don't support the purported crime that the prosecution wanted to bring. And so under that situation, under that scenario, the case must be dismissed. But this judge made a statement saying, it was a little snarky, shocker, that basically said, you don't think 12 New Yorkers can get it right? And I was like, what? Is this like Oprah Winfrey meets Perry Mason? What do 12 New Yorkers have to do with any, like, it has everything to do with the constitutional rights of the defendant and due process. And the judge's response to a legal argument to dismiss the case on the merits based before him was, oh, the guys in New York City are just going to see right through that and get it right. What legal basis do you have to say something like that? It was the most legally idiotic thing I heard all day yesterday in court.
So we've played the comments before, your comments in front of the court. I just want to summarize them, and we'll sort of play it beside you here. I just want to summarize them. And you're like, we finally found a crime. We finally found the crime. Like, it's been months, and we finally found the crime. The criminal is Michael Cohen.
I mean, that's it. I mean, look, as a guy who was on both sides of the aisle, right, doing defense work and prosecutorial work, you would never bring a case where you have an individual who is your central witness, who you have given a hall pass on to committing at least 7 different felonies that we know of, right? That we now know of. Who knows of the other ones they know of and that we didn't get to talk about? That's on top of him already lying to a federal judge, lying to multiple committees in Congress, lying to President Trump, lying to the media and lying to the world, and then being sentenced to federal prison and disbarred. This guy's not a witness you bring and rehabilitate, as we say, because he has like 1 felony and 1 lie. This is a witness you never call as a prosecutor ethically, because you know he has destroyed the defendant's due process rights. And unless you want a weaponized system of justice, which is exactly what they want, Michael Cohen would not be utilized in any prosecution. And you got to remember, and your audience know this, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York refused to bring this case for the very information you and I have been chatting about over the last 30 minutes or so. Alvin Bragg's office declined to prosecute this case initially until Joe Biden and Merrick Garland's Department of Justice airmailed in the number 3 DOJ prosecutor, Michael Colangelo, and put him on Alvin Bragg's team and forced them to indict Donald Trump. When President Trump says this thing is architected by Joe Biden from the White House and DOJ, it absolutely was. You had a rigged system of justice going into a political election year, and Merrick Garland and Joe Biden's marching orders were indict that guy.
So your name, you don't need a comment on this. It's just, it is what it is. Your name regularly causes night sweats and apoplectic seizures on some of our favorite commentators on the left. We salt them on the show, and the salt must flow. And you don't need to comment on what you may or may not do in a Trump term 2.0. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you go back to your old stomping grounds, the DOJ, and your job is to sort of like ensure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore, right? Like kind of like Russiagate cleanup aisle 7 like you did. How do you do it? Like, what do you do to Colangelo, right? Like, what do you do to these people?
Look, first of all, your duty as a prosecutor in any level of the Department of Justice is to follow the Constitution. And there have been numerous examples, which we've talked about in your show over the years, where prosecutors did not follow the Constitution. So they should be summarily dismissed for breaking not only their oaths of office, but possibly even the law. Those people are in privileged positions saying we are the cops and we are going to oversee America. But we now know that those cops, the ones that architected Russiagate, the ones that assisted in the baseless prosecution of Donald Trump, are in certain levels of DOJ, and they need to be removed, in my opinion. But also, you got to restore trust to the American people. And this might be the most important thing, whether it's DOJ or anywhere else. all of these documents, we talked about the Eileen Cannon stuff, the Florida case, where basically now we know that the DOJ had GSA move documents down to Florida and then say Donald Trump committed a crime because we moved the stuff down to Florida. Like, it's unbelievable. But what we didn't know is that the government, DOJ and FBI, hid that information from the world. They blacked it out. We got to get all these documents out to the American public on a 24/7 revolving basis, every agency and department. And whether you want to call it the Declassification Office or the Office of Truth or whatever, we have to do that so Americans can see the documents themselves and see the government gangsters in government that have lied to them, whether it's at DOD or DOJ or the IC or what have you. So we can remove the weaponization fangs that exist in all of these agencies and departments. To me, that's critical, because going to the podium and saying, oh, they lied, is not as effective as it used to be because the mainstream media is in on it. But going to the podium and saying, here, you read Andy McCabe's own email. You read Merrick Garland's own decision. You read Biden's White House counsel memo that they buried from the world that said, don't participate with Donald Trump and allow him to review his document. I mean, we are learning new things like that every day, and the world should know it all.
Very, very briefly here, Kash. It's that because you said so at the beginning of this interview, you said you spoke with Trump. You were, sort of shadow boxing with Trump in his penthouse, and you talked with him. Like, what did you talk about? What can you relay to us? What's the spirit of the president?
Unbelievable. I mean, I won't get into the details of all the conversations, but he was his charming, jovial, comedic self, but also super serious. He has that ability to vacillate between all those things that most people couldn't do in a week. He can do it in about 47 seconds. And so, for him to be taking on this barrage, and then for him to go into court and listen to this guy, Michael Cohen, say these new lies and admit to crimes. And you got to be sitting there and be like, I'm the one charged? Like, I can never put myself in President Trump's position, but I would have been furious. And at every break, President Trump methodically thought through the best way to communicate that to his legal team and get opinions when it mattered. And also, can I tell you a cool note that maybe I'll get in trouble for?
Come on.
We may have had a mini pizza party during lunch. I'm just saying. But, it's just amazing that he cares so much about the people that are there while this guy's being unconstitutionally prosecuted. He's making sure we're fed and have Diet Cokes, which is cool. And, it's just the opposite of what the media has ever caricatured this guy to be. I'd have never met a man that has cared so much about the folks around him and the American people. And I think that's why his spirit's so high.
So his spirit's high because he's eating pizza with his pals during the trial. Do you know what kind of pizza? Can you illuminate?
Yeah.
Is it a specific type of pizza? Is it a specific place in New York?
It's New York. So New York's known for their great pizzas. I'm from New York, but this was, I think, Luke's on Bleecker Street.
I think Luke's on Bleecker Street might be getting. I think Luke's on Bleecker Street may be getting some extra business.
Do you really think this is the right thing for us to be doing, Ivana?
Oh my God.
What will people think?
Let them talk.
Oh.
Ivana.
But
it's wrong, isn't it?
But it feels so right.
Then it's a deal?
Yes, we eat our pizza the wrong way.
Russ
Did
first.
he do
Introducing
this?
stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut with a ring of cheese.
We don't know, Kash.
Some of those matters are just going to have to stay classified. I may have said too much already, and the FBI is probably at my door for violating the pizza statute of 1947. I flew back last night home to Las Vegas, and I just sat back and, I've had some days with the president. I mean, the day we killed Baghdadi, the day we brought home hostages, the day we, just took out terrorists and ended forever wars. And yesterday was a day that's right up there with maybe at the top of the heap in retrospect, because I just don't understand how this country could elect anyone else. But more than that, I don't understand what fuels this guy. Like, there's a secret sauce, and I haven't broken it down entirely. But it's just impressively humbling to see that. And I think that's why America's fallen in love with not just the man that is Donald Trump, but his policies.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. You were there for the Baghdadi. That's not Thing of Legend. Abu Bakr died like a dog. I mean, like the comedians are becoming famous off of just impersonating that.
Yeah, no pizza party that night, but only they watched the new movie, the new Rambo with John Boyd and Sly Stallone. That's a separate story for another day.
Oh, okay, all right. So the night you killed Baghdadi, you watched the new Rambo movie.
The president did.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome, Kash. We're so excited about it. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time, obviously, and for defending the president yesterday. Everyone loves you. Everybody's got to go support Kash. You can fightwithkash.com. Go get his book, Government Gangsters, and follow Kash Patel on Truth Social. Kash, one of the real ones, man. There it is, right there.
Thanks so much, and thanks for you to putting in so much time to getting the information out there. That's the hard part.
Really quickly, can we zoom in on this top photo here? I'm not the one with you standing next to Trump. I mean, it looks like the Baghdadi raid. I don't know if it is.
Yeah,
You're telling me that in this photo you're watching Rambo.
No. That's a separate story. It was a different part of the evening.
Okay.
But that photo is the only solo shot from the Situation Room after we call signal jackpot on killing Baghdadi. So he signed that for me about a month later, and I got it up on I got it somewhere. I got to go find it. But the Rambo is another story.
What an absolute king. Okay, well, we'll fly in and we'll do that one long for him. Okay. The Rambo president, ladies and gentlemen, Kash Patel at his side. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you, my friend. Be good.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, there's so much that we can cover. There's the memes are flying. There's so much that we can cover here. We cannot move past the president speaking. So the president spoke in front of the court. As is our tradition, there's too much going on this morning, but as is our tradition, we want to play you the president's commentary in front of the courthouse, or inside of the courthouse, better yet. We played you the live commentary from his son and his allies, Kash Patel. Inside the court is fascinating to hear, actually. It's amazing to hear, because they don't allow cameras, recording devices, nothing but like these little crayon sketches that we can get. So hearing Kash was better than any segment we could do. Hearing Kash from inside of the court. Here is the president from inside of the court speaking to the press as of this morning. We'll see if a dismissal actually comes today. Don't hold your breath. Let's go.
Well, thank you very much. Just to begin, the news on inflation it really is rampant. It's moving at a level like people have not seen. They don't seem to be able to cut it down. Biden has no control over what's happening. He started with energy, and now it's taken on a life of its own. It's very sad. We'll get it fixed. I'd like to be out campaigning right now, but again, I'm going to be in here almost 5 weeks in court. They have no case. There's no crime. Every single legal expert, and I can say this again and again, and every time they come out, maybe at some point they'll come out and say, oh, we found something. But every single legal expert, Andy McCarthy, Jonathan Turley, Mark Levin, every one of them, Greg Jarrett, these are great talents. These are very brilliant guys, and they're not necessarily on my side historically over the years. But they're very talented people. They're legal scholars, highly respected. Every single person is saying there's no crime. There's no crime. It's a kangaroo court. There's never been anything like this that I've ever seen. Now, I had 2 other trials that were kangaroo courts also. It's stacked up. And hopefully appellate division will take care of those things because they're egregious. And the problem is that New York is really on trial itself. The whole world is watching. They're seeing what's happening. And you can't use conflicted judges. This is a conflicted judge, highly conflicted judge. And you just can't do that. You just cannot allow that to happen because you ruin the whole system. The whole system comes tumbling down. And New York, look, I love New York. This is where I grew up. I was born here. I grew up here. And I see what's happening with this judicial system. And it's just, they call it all kangaroos. And we just can't have it. And I think the appellate courts can take care of a lot of things, but this one shouldn't even get to an appellate court. This should be an easy ruling, and it should really be. And I think it would be great for Judge Marchand to rule from the bench and to terminate this witch hunt. And it needs it. It needs decisiveness. Every single scholar says there's been no crime, he's done nothing wrong. And I'm fighting for 300 million people. I mean, I have no choice. It's not that I like doing this. sitting in an icebox all day for 7, 8, 9 hours. And it's a very cold room, I will tell you that. But I'm doing this because our country needs it. Our Constitution's under threat. Our country needs it. So here I am. I will be doing something in the morning and then probably coming back in the afternoon. And we'll be resting pretty quickly. Resting meaning resting the case. I won't be resting. I don't rest. I'd like to rest sometimes, but I don't get to rest. But we have a phenomenal case. We've won the case by any standard. Any other judge would have thrown this case out. Any other judge would have thrown this case out. And I think that Juan Merchan would do himself and do the state and city a great service by doing what everybody knows should be done. And so we're going to go in. We'll have another little scrum in a little while, perhaps. It should end a little bit early today. We appreciate you suffering with us. Look, you've been with us for 5 weeks, and you see it. The crowds outside, we can't get... It's not a very big thing for us. We don't really care that much. But people want to get out there, and you have all police. The only people that are let out there is the radical left lunatics. And they put our people 4 or 5 blocks away. There are a lot of them, too. But I say that doesn't matter. What matters is what's going on in this courthouse. So thank you very much. We'll be back a little bit later. Thank you.
Sir, why did you post that video about the unified right? How did that get on your...
Ooh, I like the gold tie. I like the black suit and the gold tie and the drip. Ooh, Donald Trump coming in. Was he wearing the golden Trump sneakers? The camera didn't go down. We don't know. We don't know. He could have been. The gold tie, the fit. It's a sharp fit. You could cut yourself. Bam. Donald Trump with the gold tie, the black suit, the golden Trump sneakers. We're just going to say it is. We'll Photoshop it. I'm sure Jerry's working on getting Trump in the golden Trump sneakers right now. We'll bring you the Photoshop very, very soon. Something we don't have to Photoshop here is the fact that obviously the entire case was lit on fire yesterday. It was destroyed. It was burned to ashes. The judge was thrown into a raging scream fit because that was the day that the entire case collapsed. It's all collapsing. Check this out. This is Bob Costello. He is, of course, the attorney for Michael Cohen. We covered this last week. He testified before Congress. Bob Costello is the attorney for Michael Cohen, knows all of Michael Cohen's most privileged information. Is Michael Cohen is lying. He has nothing on Donald Trump here. I know this because Michael Cohen was going to prison, and I said, do you have anything on Donald Trump? He said, I don't have anything on effing Donald Trump. Bob Costello gets on the stand and just eviscerates the case and proved that Michael Cohen actually structured this entire deal himself as a potential attack on Trump. I mean, this is what's becoming clear, is that Michael Cohen's the criminal and that Donald Trump is an innocent man. Donald Trump's the victim, actually, of a criminal. They got the wrong guy in the chair. Check it out.
Costello right now on the witness stand is talking about his conversations with Michael Cohen back in 2018. He described Cohen as manic during those conversations, pacing back and forth. And he just said that Cohen told him during that time that Trump knew nothing about the Stormy Daniels.
It's a completely rigged case. It's fake. He's lying. He's a liar. They stole money from the Trumps. We played Don Jr.'s remarks live. Why not go to Eric Trump, who's the head of the Trump organization? What happened, Eric, when you found out that Michael Cohen is a man who actually robbed money from your company? I hope that there's going to be legal consequences here. Here's Eric Trump.
Because today it was proven their star witness, Michael Cohen, has lied over and over and over again. He lied to Congress. He lied to Senate. He lied to the Attorney General of New York. He lied in the DA trial in New York. He lied in the Southern District of New York. He lied to his wife. He lied to Judge Palsy, which is the judge that sentenced him. He paid vendors in bags of cash. He stole from our organization, right? So then we asked the judge for a motion to dismiss after all these lies, after Michael agrees that he lied to all of these people, right? He's a serial perjurer. He's a serial liar. He can't be trusted, and he is their star witness. We asked for a motion to dismiss, and it just goes nowhere because somebody is holding this judge back. And then when I look at what he did to Bob Costello, he wanted to tell his story. He knows the details of this better than anybody. He met with Cohen. He said over and over and over again that Cohen kept on saying that Donald Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. He has no information on Donald Trump. He did nothing illegal. And at every single chance that he could stop him, he could sustain, he would block him from any of that testimony.
This is what everybody, we've had like probably 20 different guests who've been inside of this courtroom on this program. We appreciate you for tuning in. We appreciate you, obviously, for watching. We do our best to like hustle as fast and as hard as we possibly can to get you people from inside the courtroom. Everyone from Alina Habba to Kash Patel, they all say the same thing. This judge rules and sustains everything to try and support the prosecution, does nothing to support Donald Trump. They don't even have to like say anything, and the judge will sustain it. Yeah. Strike it from the record. And there's one other thing that everybody says who's been inside the courtroom. They say that the jury is not convinced. That everybody who's been inside the courtroom, all these legal experts that come on the show, Brett Tolman, Alina Habba, Kash Patel, they look at the jury, they're like, what's wrong with these people? Not what's wrong with them, but like, they're not convinced. This New York jury is like, what is this kind of sham trial? And if you have like a stitch, if you have like a spark of life in your soul left, if you're not like an empty blackened husk, then you're going to say, this isn't right. I'm not going to live the rest of my life to convict an innocent man. You're not going to convict an innocent man. You don't want that smoke. You don't want to carry that with you. And well, you know how remarkable this is? People like Wolf Blitzer on CNN, like paid propagandists on CNN, these guys are now breaking. This is now a controlled demolition of the entire case. Watch CNN, Wolf Blitzer, like straight up crumble and say, nope, this is remarkable. The guy just committed a grand larceny. The real criminal is the state of New York. Watch.
Truly amazing stuff that's going on right now. Some truly stunning moments in the courtroom, to be sure, earlier today. Cohen admitting to stashing tens of thousands of dollars from Trump back in 2016 that was intended to go to a technology company. Trump attorney Todd Blanche asking him directly, and I'm quoting now, so you stole from the Trump organization? Cohen replying, quote, yes, sir.
So there's one thing to be Wolf Blitzer and you're like sort of died in a cast of like the old newsman, right? And so you're just going to read the news and be sort of like amazed at it. It's a totally different thing to be like a younger legal expert on CNN whose job is like simp for the deep state and like hate Donald Trump. This guy's name, Eli Honig is his name, and he's the legal expert of CNN. We've played you these clips to show you exactly how decimated all of this is. CNN doesn't want to report this. They don't want to say things like this. The legal expert on CNN, the young guy, is here saying, wait a second. This guy committed grand larceny. Obviously, what he did was worse than what they're trying to charge Trump with. Think about this moment. Think about how collapsed and dead this case actually is when CNN is saying this on air.
I think the revelation, though, this morning about the theft of $30,000, which was doubled because they covered his taxes, so $60,000, it came out in a glancing, unclear way on direct. It came out like a bomb earlier today. I don't know how much they can do to fix that. It just, at a certain point, it is the fact Michael Cohen did steal this money. And what makes that really so important, Wolf, is it's not as if Michael Cohen was just stealing on the side. That'd be bad enough. The problem is he was stealing from the exact reimbursement at issue in this case. So the prosecution's core argument is Donald Trump knew what that $420,000 was all about. He was totally read in on it. Turns out Michael Cohen was stealing from him within that $420,000.
Does Michael Cohen's admission that he stole tens of thousands of dollars from the Trump organization potentially open him up to further criminal prosecution?
It's a great question. The answer is not anymore because the statute of limitations has run out. But it's a very fair question to ask. Gee, folks, of the jury, they gave him a free pass. He committed larceny. It's a higher degree of a felony than what Donald Trump is charged with. Yet they gave Michael Cohen a free pass, even though he's now admitted that he stole what amounts to $60,000. It goes to his credibility. It goes to his relationship with the DA.
We just feel like it's important for you to see how like all news channels are covering this and how not even the people who are paid to be mules for the regime and to carry their water like can do it anymore. They're all breaking. I mean, don't miss this moment. The guy literally is sitting there saying Michael Cohen's a bigger crime. Like Michael Cohen's crimes, admittedly, which Kash Patel just said in 7 seconds, he admitted to 65 years worth of jail time. This guy's crime's bigger than anything they're charging Trump for. Don't miss that moment. But that was on CNN. That's a wild, this is an incredible moment. This is a remarkable moment to be alive. I think that nobody summed it up better than Greg Jarrett. Greg Jarrett, our favorite legal expert on Fox, and he said it's all rigged. The entire thing's rigged. We've never seen anything like this. This is like the perfect summation. There's cherry on top. Perfect summation of what happened yesterday, and what we're seeing today is like the defeat now officially in the courthouse. Like now you're seeing the victory, and you're seeing the defeated courtroom that's been broken. Check it out.
Costello today, though, I think totally blew away Cohen's credibility, exposed him for lying to the jury, and that is why Merchan went ballistic. He stepped in. He's helping the prosecution by sustaining these meritless objections, scolding Costello. This is a transparently rigged case engineered to convict. And that is precisely why Donald Trump has been saying over and over again, this is a corrupt case and a crooked judge. And today, Merchan proved it.
There's, is a very specific type of person that can like withstand. Take a step back. Like cockroaches hate it when you turn on the lights. The mice and the rats, they flee. All types of vermin, they flee when you shine light on them. All types of despicable and, basement dwelling and belly-crawling creatures, the vermin, the pestilence, they flee when you turn on the light, okay? When you shine lights on them, they hate it, all right? And this judge is now finally breaking. We've shined enough light, programs like this, audiences like this, patriots like you, right there. I'm looking at you, patriot. Like people who actually love their country, people that are America first. Don't have to be a Republican to watch this show. You just be America first. You just need to say, hey, I want to put my country first. It's like most Americans actually want that. That's actually what we're all about here. Put my country first. Why? Oh, because I got kids. I got skin in the game. I got a reason to like support. I got a reason to like make this country better. It's actually a moral obligation for me to make this country better, and to continue like to what kind of generation you want to be. What kind of person are you? Are you a person that wishes to like sacrifice your country to these mongoloid orcs at our doors in Helm's Deep? Like you're that guy? No, you're not that guy. You're not gonna leave a worse country to your children, and we say no to that. There are generations who are doing that right now. We're a victim of it, I would argue, in a sense, in a larger cultural war sense. And so now it's time for us to regain the momentum, regain the power, and take it back from a cultural perspective, right? Because you can't fix spiritual problems with secular anecdotes. You can't do it. You can't take secular prescriptions for a spiritual problem. There's spiritual problems in this country. And something remarkable that happened over the weekend, which is this speech by a kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, named Harrison Butker is his name. Perhaps you know him. Maybe you follow sports. Maybe you don't. But this guy's two-time Super Bowl champion, like the best kicker in the NFL, many would argue, and is a total legend. A living legend. He's in the prime of his life. He's also a committed Christian Catholic. He gave a speech about masculinity. He gave a speech about femininity. He gave a speech about the traditional family structure at a Catholic college called the Benedictine University. And he has been excoriated by the demons who scream because when something's infected and you push on it, it hurts. These people who think that there's something wrong with traditional gender roles, or there's something wrong with masculinity, or males who could stand up and be head of their household and defend their family. And they hate that. They want weakened men. They want women who are subservient to a corporation, or to some type of like sacrificing the best years of their lives to some type of so some points can go up on some Fortune 500 company. That's it. That's your end all be all in life. That's what you're selling people, man or woman. That's wrong. That's not the purpose of life for anyone. Actually, the purpose of life should be your family, procreation, the experience of literally like getting an angel. When holding an angel, which is what happens when you hold your newborn children. I don't cry. I'm an emotional man, but I do not cry. Crying is not a thing I do. All right, I don't cry. I just don't. But you can't help yourself when you hold your newborn child. You just can't help yourself as a man. I don't care who you are. Like you're experiencing a spiritual gift from God. You've been given a gift from God, and you're going to try and deny that from people. that inborn coding that comes from like thousands of years of your ancestors doing that, something that's deep in your DNA because of your ancestors, your betters. Seriously, there are people in your lineage who were truly like remarkable, could build a house. Men that could just straight up build a house. Could you build a house? I couldn't build a house today. Sorry, I just couldn't. You have men in your ancestry that could just build a house in the wilderness and could actually do masculine, remarkable things. And strong women, much stronger than many of the people on TV today, that's for sure. And you should be proud of them. You should be incredibly proud and honored to be part of that lineage, that bloodline. Brave people. Harrison Butker's speech talked about all of that and Christianity. And for that, he was attacked. The history of Christendom and the good that it's brought to the world. He was attacked, of course, by the Mongoloid orcs, the unhappy people with demonic screams, everyone calling for him to be canceled. Even the city of Kansas City doxed him and said, you know, we're going to tell everyone where you live, which is the worst thing you can do to really like a famous person, because you're like inviting the orcs to his gate. And so there has been some major pushback there, but nothing stronger than the Attorney General of Missouri. Of course, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City Chiefs play in Missouri. The Attorney General of Missouri is somebody who has been standing up for this and saying that actually there may be a crime here against Harrison Butker, and we're very proud to have the Attorney General of Missouri, Andrew Bailey, joining our program now. Mr. Attorney General, I deeply apologize. You know, we book out this show, and we have no idea what's going to happen in the court in New York, and we just had like 30 minutes of like flamethrower conversations in front of the court. We had to take it live, and so we thank you so much for sticking with us. We got an audio issue here, ladies and gentlemen. So we're gonna.
Hey, I think I got you.
There we go. Okay,
hey,
fantastic.
I appreciate you having me on and covering these important stories.
So we saw your predecessor in front of the court today. I think I'd like to talk about Harrison Butker, but just really quickly, Eric Schmidt in front of the court today. He's now in the Senate. He held your office previously, and you got to stand proud.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm carrying on a legacy of excellence that's left behind by my two predecessors. Josh Hawley, who was my law professor, taught me everything I know about reading the law, is now serving heroically in the United States Senate. And Eric Schmidt, a personal friend of mine who's been very supportive of me. And certainly that's who I immediately succeeded. And so, you know, they leave behind a legacy of excellence that I'm so proud to carry on in their honor and for the people of the state of Missouri. And look, what's happening to President Trump is an illicit witch hunt prosecution. The case has fallen apart. It was never supported by the facts or the law. That was self-evident. That was self-evident before this started. It became more evident as Michael Cohen's credibility, which I don't know, he didn't have any to begin with, but what little he walked into the courtroom with was quickly demolished, and the ulterior motives of the witnesses in the prosecution was laid bare through the evidentiary proceedings in the trial itself. But there's a piece that's missing here. You've extensively covered the bias of the judge, which I think is absolutely true. His family's connections to the Democratic Party were sufficient to impute an impropriety to him and disqualify him from this case. I think his evidentiary rulings have been wrong and are rigged to obtain an illicit conviction of the president. But there's another angle here. The prosecutors themselves are illicitly motivated. Attorneys are guided and controlled by a rule of ethics, rules of professional conduct. And prosecutors are held to a heightened standard of those rules. And they can't be self-interested in the case. And they can't weaponize the criminal justice system and go after a political opponent. And yet what's happening here is the third-ranking official from Biden's Department of Justice, Matthew Colangelo, has been deployed to the state of New York to work for Alvin Bragg to prosecute President Trump. You can't tell me that that isn't collusion. That alone is sufficient evidence to disqualify Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo for prosecuting this case. We've demanded certain records from the Department of Justice. We know there's a documented history of the deep state conspiring to target President Trump. Remember those text messages between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok back in 2016? The same thing's going to be true here. We're going to shine the light of truth on that. It's going to undermine the credibility of whatever illegal conviction they may obtain. Ultimately, I think it puts the prosecutors themselves in line for civil liability for violating President Trump's civil rights. And potentially criminal liability as well. At some point, we have to talk about prosecuting the prosecutors. But let's be clear about this. This case was never about a criminal offense. This case was always about taking President Trump off of the campaign trail. And Senator Eric Schmidt and I agree that there are large segments of the population in this country that feel forgotten and that feel that President Trump is one of the only voices we have. And thank God he's fighting back against this kind of illicit prosecutorial witch hunt lawfare and standing in the gap to protect the rest of us.
Yes. This is, again, why we are just a hair late this morning, is because we listened to the man who held your position stand there in front of the court. And Eric Schmidt gave fantastic remarks this morning. Missouri should absolutely stand proud. I don't know if Josh Hawley plans on going there, but we always like it when Josh Hawley speaks as well. So you have a pretty fantastic pedigree there, Mr. Attorney General. So I want to just drill down on something you just said. Can you please unpack for me, how would you get somebody who could legally come after the people who've suborned perjury in this case, who are clearly putting forward liars or deeply disreputable star witnesses against Donald Trump? I mean, it does seem like there are codes of ethics that are being egregiously desecrated in this case via the prosecution. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think President Trump was right as well. Look at what President Trump said, that the state of New York is on trial. And that's true. I mean, shame on the judiciary for being in lockstep with the prosecution and allowing these illicitly motivated, conflicted prosecutors to prosecute a sham trial. He should have dismissed the charges on their face. He should have disqualified these prosecutors. He should have dismissed the case at the close of state's evidence. And he should acquit the defendant now, today, and discharge the jury. This was always a sham. Shame on the judiciary for being in lockstep with the prosecution on this. But then, secondly, shame on the disciplinary proceedings in the state of New York for not disciplining the prosecutors on their professional licensure for filing frivolous charges, for being conflicted and being self-interested in the case. We know that Alvin Bragg has litigated against President Trump in civil suits in his capacity working for Letitia James. We know that Matthew Colangelo is a longtime actor on behalf of the DNC and has been deployed by the Biden administration in this illicit witch hunt prosecution. So again, shame on the disciplinary body within the state of New York Bar Association for not sanctioning these illicitly motivated prosecutors. But at the end of the day, again, I think what this transparency is going to do is allow there to be enough, on top of all the other problems in the trial. This is one more layer of reversible error for the appellate court to look at. And I also think, again, when you've got prosecutors that are exceeding the scope of their statutory authority, they are likely waiving their sovereign immunity and exposing themselves to civil suits. That's why, like you described in the earlier segment, shining the light of truth on this issue from every angle, from the illicit nature of the prosecution itself, the illicit motivations of the judge, and now also the prosecutors. I think that is incredibly important in order to expose this for what it is.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, listen, if you come at me with some lie, or if you try to like slander or smear me, and I know this happens to you 12 times a day, that just doesn't matter. Like, bring it on. I don't care. I have literally nothing to hide. But these people are starting to mentally break. I mean, I know you weren't in the courthouse yesterday, as far as my producers tell me, but you know, a judge screaming and going into a tirade and saying, "Are you staring me down?" What, you know, like sending everybody out of the courthouse. It seems like the guy's broken now. It seems like he can't handle the pressure, and Judge Merchan is now cracked.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because clearly the case isn't supported by the facts of the law. They desired an outcome, and they're struggling to achieve that outcome because things are falling apart because they were never put together in the first place. You know that left has problems when CNN is in crisis control mode, when the Clinton News Network, the Communist News Network, is openly saying, "Oh, this is a problem. Cohen's a liar." Like, yeah, the rest of the world knew that before this started, and like suddenly they're surprised by it and are in damage control cleanup mode to try to salvage what little reputation they have left because they realize how bad this is. And I hope that the left understands that there's a boomerang effect. If the rules of the game no longer matter, if we're not going to elevate the rules of the game above the players and the outcomes, what about when the other side's in charge? What happens then? And I'm not even saying break the rules. I'm saying, again, shine the light of truth on this and prosecute the prosecutors if they violated the law.
So, prosecute if they violated the law. This is something I'd like to sort of redirect back to your state. And it seems as though somebody violated the law. There was a Kansas City, not the Kansas City Chiefs X account. I try to do my best to sort of couch Harrison Butker. And we have people on our staff that are actually really close with him. We've been sort of seeing this from 1,000 yards out. I couldn't believe it when the city of Kansas City posted up and doxed him and effectively invited violence against a man who's simply speaking out speaking out in favor of his Christian beliefs. And that seems like a egregious violation of somebody's civil rights, and it seems like a violation, obviously, of somebody's constitutional rights, freedom of religion, right, in this nation. And what's going to happen then? Here's your post saying, wait a second, like, this is illegal under Missouri state law. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, certainly. And again, I am fighting to prevent, eliminate, prohibit discrimination by government employees against free expression of Christian thought, of Christian belief, of any faith belief. I mean, at the end of the day, this is an anti-discrimination measure that's codified in Missouri state law. It's certainly supported by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. But the AGO has unique enforcement authority under the Missouri Human Rights Act to prevent the government from retaliating against individuals who freely express their religion as they are allowed to do, rights given to us by God, not by man, and protected by the Constitution. Harrison Butker is a Christian of the Catholic faith who expressed his ideals at a Catholic university during a commencement address. And he's allowed to do that. He's protected by the Constitution and certainly shouldn't be targeted for retaliatory doxing by city officials. We've demanded accountability, and we want to see the documents related to how the city manages this X account, formerly known as Twitter, how they manage social media, who has access to it, who posted this, why it was done, and what measures are being put in place to protect the public in the future. And what has happened is the city has come out and said, look, we apologize. The buck stops at the mayor's office, but he didn't actually apologize to Harrison Butker. The mayor just said that what they said wasn't wrong. They just did it on the wrong X account. And has that now blamed me for somehow stoking racial animosity when race has nothing to do with this at all. And it's dripping with irony that somehow I'm the bad guy and I'm causing discrimination by trying to enforce the statute that prohibits discrimination.
Yeah, you have these like woke pricks who run these accounts and these sniveling little city offices, and they think that everything is... They think that X is real life, right? And that they can just dox somebody. And I bet they did do it on purpose. I mean, I bet they did. I really hope that you leverage the full weight of the state against this. You should make an example of them.
Yeah, I think we have to. Again, this is about protecting Missourians' right to free expression and to be free from discrimination by government officials. Let's focus on what actually happened here. The city used official resources to retaliate against Harrison Butker for his free expression of his Christian beliefs. And you know what else? It's really prophetic. If anybody goes back and actually watches what Harrison Butker said in that 19-minute commencement speech, he opens by saying that the left desires to drive Christian thought, free expression of Christian ideals from the public domain, from public discourse. And that's exactly what the left did in retaliation for the commencement address. I mean, it was prophetic. He was exactly right. They want to silence him, and they're going to use government resources to do it. Not on my watch.
Wow. Okay, so can you talk me through like what the penalties here might be? So let's say you find the employee, you find who approved of this, you find how this all worked out. So okay, so let's say you have a suspect here, right? What happens then?
Well, at the end of the day, the city needs to terminate anybody involved in this. I mean, that's step one. Step two, the public needs to be ensured that there are systems in place to prevent this from ever happening again. And if the city refuses to comply with our demand for information or refuses to institute systems sufficient to protect the free exercise of religious expression, we'll file suit.
I mean, hey man, we've seen you do it before. We call you the best attorney general in the whole country. You've got some judge a man by his enemies, right? So you've got the best enemies. And Media Matters and George Soros. It's really you're on a roll. You're on a roll here, sir. Okay, so Harrison Butker seems to be safe. I mean, Andy Reid's standing up for him. From what we hear, all of his teammates are standing up for him, even though a lot of them are cowards and won't say anything publicly. It seems like his job's safe. This idea that he's going to be kicked off the team or he's going to get fired. It does seem like there's a not only is he protected, though, from the team, it seems like there's a massive boomerang here and maybe a big lesson to be learned because his jersey sold out. Now everybody in the country knows his name, and so everyone's going to be, people are going to watch him as sort of his his fame has increased exponentially, and it seems like almost very smart on his part because like now every Christian and every person of faith is going to be like, yeah, love that guy.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I'm proud to live in a state where people are standing up and supporting his right to free exercise of religion. Again, it used to be the rule in this country that we elevated the protections we enjoy under our Constitution, the rule of the law, above the players and the outcomes. And President Biden and his ilk, the radical left, have jettisoned that approach. That's why they're willing to conduct lawfare against President Trump. That's why they're willing to use government resources to retaliate against Harrison Butker and other Christians that deign to speak out for themselves and express their sincerely held religious beliefs. So, yeah, I think that is absolutely true. Yeah, I tell you, it is really shameful that the diversity, equity, and inclusion officer from the NFL bemoaned what Harrison Butker had said and tried to distance the NFL from it. You know, again, like here you've got somebody who's supposed to be fostering a community of diversity and inclusion, unless it's Christianity. Then that's not allowed and it's not to be included. We don't want that kind of diversity if you're the NFL. I mean, that's what they've said. And so really shame on the NFL for taking that position. And I think, again, it just exposed the corrupt and illicit nature of these DEI programs.
Yeah, I mean, possibly something that you don't wish to opine on here, but we can because it's our show and it's what we believe. I believe that wokeness is its own religion. I believe that it's not that they're anti-Christianity, it's that they're against another religion.
Yeah.
They themselves are a cultish,
it's
religious fealty. You know, you must kneel in total and complete religious level zealotry and fealty to a ideology and a tautology of lies, and that these people are angry that Christianity is a competing religion, and so they're attacked. It's literally it's a holy war actually, or an unholy war, perhaps.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, they're actually, it's self-righteousness. They're worshiping themselves, and it's self-destructive because it's who can go furthest to La La Land, who can be the most zany wingnut wins the woke Warrior of the Year award, and it's absolutely self-righteousness, and it leads to this like level of judgmentalism where if anyone's not towing their line, they're to be canceled, punished, retaliated against, bullied into submission. I mean, it's absolutely dangerous to our society and our culture, and we've got to continue to use the tools at our disposal to fight back.
Yes. Well, we're deeply and profoundly thankful that there's somebody who actually does fight back. It is Missouri. I love Missouri. It's a very sane place. There's very good people who live in Missouri. It's like a Trump plus 10 state. It is wild to see how bold these people are, even knowing that they're not in the majority and that the majority of people don't agree with them. I guess there's kind of the blind religious zealotry to that. Everybody in the state of Missouri, as far as I know, is on Harrison Butker's side here, and on your side too, Mr. Attorney General. You're one of the few guys who fight, and so we're thankful for you, and we're thankful for you being a friend of the show.
Thanks for having me on. Always great to talk to you. And thanks again for covering these important stories.
Godspeed, sir. Oh man, okay. Wow, what a wild show. We got 2 hours, clocking in 2 hours on today's show. We're independent. Do what you want. Yeah, we can do what we want. We can do what we want. We can do what we want. I don't know, what do we want to do? Let's book the show. Book the show for tomorrow. I want Don Jr. tomorrow. Come on, Don Jr. Reach out. Let's get Don Jr. He was on fire in front of the court. Speaking of on fire in front of the court, I saw many people in the comment section, and you don't we have multiple phones with the comment section on during the show. I mean, we were checking comments. We're commenting ourselves in the breaks. I try and jump in there. We listen to you. We put your comments up on the screen best we can. We get tens of thousands of comments during the show, so we try our hardest. But we love you. We care about you, and you help run the show with us. One, do you want to see Don Jr. On the show tomorrow? We know Don, and we think he's awesome. We saw. If you do, let us know. We'll book Don. Two, we have a clip that you wanted to see. So we saw the comments rolling in, and you said, Maria Salazar. We love that lady. Say, give us some Maria Salazar. Some spice. Maria Salazar. And you said it. And we said, okay, here we go. Uno reverse. We got ourselves some Maria Salazar. She was the member of Congress from Florida who spoke about her Cuban ancestry who spoke in Spanish to the press. And maybe we should have done a poll, but we could clip one commentary. And so for the end of the show, we played it live at the beginning of the show. But this is the one that everybody wanted. Everybody said this is a spicy scoop of salsa right here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here is Maria Salazar from Miami, Florida, District 27. And whew, baby, this is a heater. Let's go.
I'm Representative Salazar. Probably I'm the only member of this group that can speak in both languages, so I'm going to do that in Spanish when we finish. And I have a few remarks that I think are going to be very interesting to all of you. I represent District number 27 in Florida, bastion of the ultimate melting pot in the United States. And I just want to make very clear that I am here of my own volition. I am not on the list of the favorites. I am not looking for a job, and I paid for my own way. Just to make sure. And the only reason why I'm here is because thousands of my constituents back in Miami are terrified when the courts in this country are used as weapons to crush our political enemies. Regardless of what you think of Donald Trump, regardless of what you think of him, regardless of what you feel about him, regardless whether you're going to vote for him or not in November, Donald Trump is not the only one going through trial. We all are. And I'm not sure if you know that, but that's the truth. Trump may be the one on the stand today, but the same forces that are manipulating the court system against him today will be after you tomorrow if we do not stop this political cycle circus that we are facing right now. The empirical evidence is overwhelming. And why do I say that? How come a person is being charged and we do not know the charges that are against him are clearly defined? That is all political. That happens in Cuba and Venezuela, not in the United States. How come the federal prosecutors 6 years ago decided not to touch this case, but somehow the state prosecutors in New York decided that it was the right timing? Because it's all political. Why there are no audio recordings? Don't you guys want to hear what's happening? How come there are no cameras in the courtroom? Why is that? Because it's all political. But you know what? My parents are Cuban Americans. They are political refugees. They came from Cuba 60 years ago. And political trials happen in banana republics. In banana republics, not in the United States of America. Thousands and thousands of my constituents, and that is why I'm here, not because I'm one of the favorites, but thousands of my constituents come from those countries, the Cuba, the Venezuela, the Nicaragua, very close to us. And they recognize and see very well when there's a political inquisition going on. They have lived it, they have suffered it, and they escaped it, including my parents. And yet now, we're watching this again, where? In the United States of America. There is something very wrong with this picture. And we have lived it, and that's why I'm here talking to you. The United States, the courts, the laws, the judges cannot be used as political weapons just to silence the other guy because you do not like him. The ballot box is where you fight those political battles, not in a court of law. And in the meantime, I belong to you for 35 years. You should be ashamed of how passively you're sitting passively by while the credibility of one of the most revered American institutions, the judicial system, is crumbling in front of your eyes. Where is your profession? Where is your impartiality? Your biased coverage will cost us for many generations. Unfortunately, my constituents know this movie does not end well. But the problem is that millions and millions of my fellow Americans have never watched it, so they do not know the dangers we're facing. America and its political genius of the American exceptionality, if we lose faith in it, we are marching towards a very dark place. America is the only hope, ask my parents and my constituents, for humanity, and if we want to continue pursuing the happiness of all of us. May the Lord Almighty, the Lord of Abraham, the Lord of Jesus, protect us, because we are in a very dark place. Thank you. And I continue.
Ooh, man. Ooh, I saw the comment section. There was some spicy meat. Spicy. Some hot peppers in the comment section. Maria Salazar. Maybe we book her later in the week. We're in Florida. She's in Florida. That was awesome. That was awesome, right? That was awesome. Couldn't think of somebody better to lead us into our verse of the day from Luke 5:32. The Lord of Abraham, the Lord God, she says, may God have mercy on our souls. I have not come to call the righteous, but the sinners to repentance. I think that there is a revival going on in the country. I think that there's a calling right now. I think there's a revival in the country. I think there's a heightened spiritual energy. You have to be daft not to feel it. You have to not be centered, right, and not connected to not feel it. Do you feel it? You feel the heightened spiritual energy? It's like a wavelength right now. And I'm not into that kind of, I don't know my astrological sign or anything. I don't know the stars. I don't know any of the constellations. I'm not that. Okay? I'm not walking around with crystals or anything. I don't even wear a watch. There's a heightened spiritual energy, like right now in the country. There are people who are like just waking up. Who are just waking up. We talked about this on Tim Pool's show on Thursday. It's wild. The direction it veered. And the people are like feeling it. And it's great. Christ calls for us to awaken. He calls, ladies and gentlemen, for a nation who's in sin, a nation that needs repentance, to wake up and to ask for that. And then he'll be there for us. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to have. It's a wonderful promise to have. So be part of that. And and accept the fact that you're living in like through a remarkable era. Joe Rogan, a couple of weeks ago, said we need Jesus right now. Now would be a good time for Jesus to return. Joe Rogan, most listened to man on earth, a guy who I think is sort of a professed agnostic. That's really interesting. And you're seeing this all across the spectrum. Jordan Peterson just got baptized. Hulk Hogan just got baptized. Cool. Big Hulk Hogan fan on this program. He doesn't live too far away from us, actually. Maybe we get him on the show next. I don't know. That'd be great. Maybe he just becomes a permanent co-anchor of the show. But Hulk and Benny. Hulk and Benny. Hogan. Benny. I'll workshop it. We're gonna workshop it. We're gonna rubber room it, okay? But either way, okay, I'm saying that there's something remarkable happening. It's neat to be part of it. Need to be at the center of it. Thank you for a record-breaking show. This army is a salty army, part of the Benny Brigade. Benny Brigade, ladies and gentlemen, you can join at bennyjohnson.com. You can sign up today for the price of a large fry at McDonald's. You can support our work, our program. We're independent for a reason. We're independent to provide for you and to give back to this community. And we like being able to do 2-hour shows. We've now been live for 2 hours. Like, we like being able to do 2-hour live shows and book whoever we want to book and talk about whatever we want to talk about. It keeps us independent. So please go to bennyjohnson.com, sign up for the Benny Brigade to support us. And we say thank you for that. It's a profound blessing for us. For your viewing pleasure, we have our meme. I think let's just play the meme. Let's just make this a rule from now on. We can play the intro because a lot of people don't catch the meme up front. We'll play the memes at the end as well. So we make custom memes. We only show in America that is a full-time meme maker. His name's Jerry. He's badass, and he's a crazy genius. He's a mad genius, just like all geniuses. There's no such thing as a non-mad genius. And Jerry's one of them. And he makes these amazing memes every single day. The good, bad, and the ugly, ladies and gentlemen, inside of the court with Donald Trump will send us out. March on, salty army. The salt must flow. We march to victory. Let's go. Pew, pew.